stage is yours, Samir.
Yeah, I still need to share the screen. Cannot.
You're always asking for things. There you go. You can do it now.
Great.
Should be able to. I like it.
Great. So you see my screen, right?
Yes.
Okay, so let's kick it off. So the focus of this presentation is to show you a proposal on how we want to work on the new studio enhancement. Okay, so for me, it's an experiment. So any feedback I get here, I will reuse it in other projects within the Async API initiative. So to give a little bit of context, so my role here, as you know, is improving the way we manage the projects and also managing the core team. So the area of the focus, what I want to improve is what you see in the middle. It's during what happens during the shaping and prototyping phase and the building phase. Okay, not what happens before, like the discovery. Here, the discovery means whenever we talk to a customer, we have some ideas, then these ideas turn out to issues. Okay, and there's also some like survey that we might do to improve that phase. But for now, we'll just focus on these two phases. And whenever we have features, we release features, then we need to measure if these features are having the impact that we want. So this is where the measure impact comes into the picture, and we have the support. So support meaning all the bug fixes that we are doing and so on. So this is the focus of today. So shaping, prototyping, and building. So for that, we want to try ShapeUp methodology that was created by Basecamp in 2019. These guys are awesome and original on how they are doing their stuff. And the book also is available online. That's quite great. You can read it as well, like whenever you have time. It's a great book. It goes straight to the point. It's not a boring book with some examples. I've personally tried this method in my former job, and it was quite interesting in terms of outcomes. It doesn't work like it's not a let's say silver bullet. It can work in some teams. Some teams this will not work. And this is why we want to try it in the context of this open source project and see how it goes. Okay. So why I'm proposing this? So the first thing is this methodology. We focus on the problems before jumping into any solutions. And as engineers, we love solutions. Right, but the time is limited, and we need to use it in the right way, and only solve the problems that matters. Okay. Second, in ShapeUp, the time is a first-class citizen, meaning in the projects there is this importance of the meaning of the time. So you need to have this time in mind. So it's not like I have a feature, then I just put in the list of the tasks. It's more what I can do during this time. Okay, and this is a complete mindset change because we used to work in terms of features and tasks, and here it's more. Okay, I have this time, what I can do during this time. Okay. And the other benefit is encouraging autonomy and ownership. In this methodology, no one is assigning tasks, so you will not be assigned any tasks. It's more, I have a list of problems and engineers choose the best way to solve them, okay? That being said, now I will just walk through the key concepts. Of course, the book is there, you can check it out. And everything in this methodology starts with what we call a pitch, okay? So a pitch is like a document that describes an idea, and it has three big components, or the anatomy of the pitch is like, the first part is describing the problem, giving an overview of the problem and why you want to solve that problem, okay? And then you need to define how much time you need to solve that problem. And this is where what we call an appetite. And then you need to identify the risks. While like pitching the idea, then you need to define what are the rabbit holes. Do you have any dependencies, for instance? And something that you may discover during doing that work.
Sorry, Samir, just want to clarify something about the time here. So the time is not related to the time we think it's gonna take to develop something, but how much time are you willing to invest in something, right? So that's why it's called appetite. Like it's like how much, how much appetite I have for something. Like imagine you have a task that might be completed in 2 hours, right? But it's extremely important for us. So we might say it's 4 weeks appetite, right? So we are happy to give it 4 weeks, even though we know it's going to take 2 hours, but we're happy to give it 2 weeks because it's that important for us, right? We have so much appetite that so the time here is not about how much time do you think it's going to take you, like you used to evaluate in Scrum, right? It's more about like how much time are you willing to give it to this task, right? So
yeah, exactly. I think the best thing, I will just show you an example of what is a pitch. And anyone can write a pitch, okay? So anyone can have a proposal. So this is an example. So this is in the context of Studio. Here we have some improvements in terms of layout. We have the problem, so we describe the problem. We have the solution for it. And the solution doesn't need to be fully fledged, let's say, Figma prototype. So it can be just, okay, a mock-up or a kind of an idea of how this would look like. Then we have the rabbit hole. So here, for instance, in the layout improvement, we want to leverage the design system, for instance. And then you need to define the scope. I will go through all the concepts, like defining also the scope. So the scope is like kind of what are the initial list of tasks that you think will be within this project. Okay, so you don't need to define upfront the entire list of tasks, and this is quite impossible. And this is the beauty of this methodology, because it gives you a framework to discover these tasks while working on the projects. Okay, then you need to define also what is out of the scope, what is not will not be solved in the project, and then we have some success criteria. So linking what we are doing with some outcome, and this is where also we can have an idea of what we are doing also is in line with the vision of the initiative. And the next one is the appetite. So as Fran said, the appetite is not estimating the work. It's more I have this time, okay, and what kind of project I want to do during this time. We have 3 types of appetite. So we have the big, small, and medium. The big one will be like 6 weeks. Then we have 2 weeks, and we have 4 weeks. And we have cycles. Okay, so the cycle lasts always 6 weeks. And between each cycle, we have this cool down period or bit-in period. So I will explain. So let's say that we have some enhancement to do. Then we have the pitch, okay? And once the pitch is let's say committed, so we agree that we will work on that. So it will go through this cycle. So you will have 6 weeks to work on that. When you finish the 6 weeks, then during this cool down period, which is also kind of a break, so it's 2 weeks, you can work on let's say bugs. You can work on the documentation. And also during this time, this is where we need to define also the next bets or the next projects we'll be working on the next cycle. Okay. And then we have the bet. So the bet is just a pitch that is committed. So we commit to do that idea during that cycle. So we have a defined cycle. We also have an identified owner, and this is important. So without an owner, we cannot commit to anything. And we also require an initial scope defined, so to have an idea of the work to be done. And we have this concept, as I said, between each cycle, each 6-week cycle, we have this bit-in table. We'll see if we can use some of these meetings just to discuss the upcoming pitch. So it's a learning experience. So we'll take some time. And during that bit table, we will kind of vote or discuss the things that we'll do in the next cycles. So this is an example here. So this is a bit, which is a transformed pitch. So we just take the pitch and we put the cycle for it. So in a concrete way, it's coming in the project here. So this is something we'll do. For now, I will do it. So it's just like changing the kind here from pitch to bed. Okay, so you don't need to deal with all this complexity. Huh? And I will speak more about how we make it easy for you. So that's a bit. Don't hesitate to interrupt if you have any question, by the way. So no questions so far on the concepts or anything? Is everything clear for now?
So one cycle has like sorry, what was the name of we have like a proposal for one cycle, and then one cycle has one proposal, or there are like multiple proposals included, and then they changes to bet.
So basically in one cycle you can build or shape. So you have two kind of cycles. So you are what we call within the cycle, meaning you are building something, okay? Or you are out of the cycle. But to simplify it, let's say we have only one kind of cycle, okay? So it's always 6 weeks. And what is important is before even having the cycle, you have a list of bets that are already predefined. So we already discussed the bets, so you know what we have to do. You're not lost in a millions of tasks or issues. So you know that in this enhancement, we have an identified list of bets, what we call, this kind of projects, they're called bet. So bet is like, it's a pitch. It was a pitch before. And it's a bet because we have identified the cycle that we need to work on. Like, let's say, starting from today till having this 6 weeks, we will work on layout improvement, for instance, or design system, okay? So during one cycle, then depending on the appetite that you define. So it's a if it's a big appetite because it's 6 weeks, then it will fit the entire cycle. If it's like small appetites, so let's say 2 weeks, so you might have then 3 bets, depending on how much bets you have and how much we have voted during this bet table. Okay, so I hope it answers your question. Okay.
Thank you.
Fran, you have something to say?
Yeah, so I want to just clarify something. So we're talking about pitches, bets, and scopes. Just want to clarify in the context of what you already know. These are all GitHub issues. There's nothing special about it, right? So you take a GitHub issue, and what we say is that we're gonna work in this GitHub issue in the next 6 weeks, right? Or this is gonna be one of the issues that we're gonna work on in the next 6 weeks, right? We can work on other ones as well. We can have more than one issue on the 6 weeks period. The thing is that the difference here is that we somehow as a group in the community, right? So here as a group, what we do is that we give it priority we give priority to these issues. So we commit ourselves that we're not going to be working on something else, on other issues, right? I mean, that's the theory, right? But you commit that you're not going to be working on other issues on studio, at least on studio, right? You're going to be working on these issues that are in the cycle, that belong to that specific 6 week cycle, right? And the reason is because we're betting. So like we bet that in 6 weeks we can get this done, right? We can get this is going to be solved, right? That's a bet. It's a bet that we do as a group, right? It's a commitment that we take. Usually what people do in these cases is so it's like, if you think about it, it's like in your day-to-day work is, you know which task to pick, right? It's one of the bets or one of the subtasks of the bet, right? And you're gonna be working on this until it's completed. Once it's completed, you probably take another bet if there's a remaining one, or if there's remaining time and there are no more bets, we finish before the 6 weeks, then it's up to you. You can work on improving what you already did. You can work on other things. You can work on whatever you want, right? It's about priority. So what we're trying to do here is we're still putting some time constraints, the 6 weeks. In a private company, it will be a strong constraint. This will be like, actually, ShapeUp says, if you don't finish in 6 weeks, you throw it. You don't continue after that. So it's a fucking bet. It's a fucking bet. You either finish it or you lost. You lost it, right? You lost the bet. In our context, it's a little bit different, right? Many of us here are getting paid to work on SN KPI, but some others are not. So we cannot really tell the folks in the community like, hey, you need to commit to this. You need to finish this in 6 weeks and so on, because that's not fair, right? So yeah, here it will be a little bit more flexible. It will be more like treat it as a priority. If we don't finish in 6 weeks, at least let's try it, but at least we know that after these 6 weeks, we can continue probably the remaining stuff in the next cycle. So the cool thing about it of trying to fit in a specific time constraint is that it gives us visibility of how we are progressing. If we're doing the right thing, it also helps us do the right thing at the right time, so we don't get distracted by other issues and other stuff, right? We know where to focus and where to put the let's say where to put the effort, right? And we don't get distracted with other issues that people might create during these 6 weeks, right? For that, you can always postpone these issues that appear to the next 2 weeks. So in between 6 weeks and 6 weeks, you will have a 2 weeks period where you can work on whatever you want, right? There are no priorities. You set your priority. You're free to do whatever you want. I mean, you're free all the time, but yeah, like we try to unite forces as a group here, and let's try to get this done in 6 weeks, right? So yeah, I just want to clarify this, that it's all issues. So we're not going to change the way we work in that sense, especially not in the beginning, because Samir and I will be taking care of all these things that you've seen, like changing something from pitch to bed to whatever, writing the pitch and all the stuff. So writing the description, the issue description, in a way that you have everything you need to have in order to start working on it. And you will never have everything you need, but you have at least everything you need to start working on it, right? It's up to whoever picks the issue to start actually finding finding what's missing in the description of the issue, right? This is never going to be good enough. These are the scopes, by the way. But yeah, well, the thing is that we're going to try to make it as so I think so Samir is doing a great thing here, that he's explaining ShapeApp with all this concept and all this stuff. But I would like to add that you don't need to learn this now.
Exactly.
Right? You don't need to learn this now. It's cool. I think it's good that you tell people what we're gonna do behind the scenes, how we're gonna organize and all of that. The only thing that you probably have to care about is here are a few issues. These are the ones that we're gonna assign for the next 6 weeks, and that's it. Nothing else, right? So that's let's say that's the only thing you have to take into account.
Yeah. And it's a continuous, let's say, improvement and learning as well. So we do this together. I'm not saying that we will apply even by the book, the ShapeApp.
No, we can't.
We might even adapt it to fork it and have something that works better for open source project, because as Fran said, we don't have this control on the resources. So some are working full time, some are just contributing in their spare time. So that's difficult, right?
Even for those of us who are working full time, it's hard because none of us are working exclusively on Studio, right? Yeah. So we're working on other repos as well. It's just that while contributing to Studio, you know the preference, you know the priorities. Don't work on something else that is not on the cycle. Work on this. If you want to work on something else that is not on the cycle, wait until the 2 weeks period after the cycle, right? If you cannot wait for whatever reason, then it's okay. Of course, we need to be flexible here. We're not trying to enforce a way of working here that doesn't make sense. It's just like, let's try to make the effort together collectively as to set a roadmap and to contribute. How can I say that? And to contribute all, let's say, and put the effort, all of us together, into something for the next 6 weeks, right? It's okay if we don't finish it in 6 weeks. We're not a company here, right? We're not a company. We're not a product. We don't have customers waiting for us. So that's okay. But I think it will help to set the direction of the product and to be more productive as well. Because right now what's happening is that it's chaotic. What we're following right now, it's a chaotic process. You pick one issue, which one? This one, okay. Why? Because I like it. I'm just feeling interested about it. Cool, but maybe that's not contributing to what people want or what people need, right, out of studio. So yeah, we might be contributing to something that might be cool for you, but it's not really contributing much to the initiative, right, or to studio or to the needs of the users. So that's why we want to keep a balance here. 6 weeks will be for solving real needs of the users, right, and going in the direction of the roadmap, right? And the other 2 weeks will be for us to experiment, to do whatever we want to do, right? So yeah.
I mean, for me, as a great outcome from this is if we solve or we answer the question of am I doing something valuable for customers and useful? That's the thing. When you see when you go to any open source project, you have a lot of issues, right? So, but you don't know, like you're just contributing, but you don't know, you don't have this this link with the outcome. So I think the promise of ShapeUp is this, like how we get there, and that's quite useful. So let's see.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. So I've seen this since we joined Postman, for instance, to work on async API and create this team working on async API. In the beginning, it was easier. We were just Lucas, Maciek, Jonas, and I, and we were all happy working like this, like chaotically, like we pick whatever we want, and you know, we were all happy like this. But over time, new people joined the team, right, to work full time on async API, and new people joined the community to contribute regularly to the projects in async API, and they were feeling a little bit. They were having this feeling of I'm not sure I'm doing something useful. You know, like over the years, you've spent many years contributing to, or a couple of years contributing to async API, and you don't really know what you have contributed. It's like, yeah, I know that I fixed a lot of issues, I implemented a lot of stuff, but am I contributing to something valuable for the users, for the community, or am I just like hanging around, you know, like playing around with, oh, new issue, I'm gonna pick it. Oh, this one looks cool, this one. And probably instead of going in a direction, the direction we want to go, right, as a community, instead of going in this direction, we're just like, everyone is pushing in different directions, you know, like, and it's a chaos. I mean, look at Studio right now. Look at Studio. This is a good example of this. If you navigate on Studio, you will see that it's a chaos. It's a chaos. It doesn't make sense at all. It's an application that doesn't make sense at all. It's just the editor makes sense, but there are lots of features in terms of you know, like making it look like Visual Studio Code, and improving the code editor in Studio, and then there's one day someone contributed a chart, this kind of chart, this diagram that you can see how messages are flowing inbound or outbound and so on, but it's not really well crafted. It's just like an experiment, and that's it. That the person lost interest, and that's it. Nobody continued, right? And so you see all of it. Like the sidebar, for instance, doesn't make sense. If you look at the sidebar, it has no. Like, for instance, why do you have a button on the sidebar to create a new async API file out of a template? Why is it there? It's in the sidebar. It's usually not there. This kind of interactions. Thing is that no one was like setting, let's say, a direction. Everyone was like, oh, I'm gonna pick this issue because I find it cool. I'm gonna pick this other one because I find it cool. and then living, right? Most of them living, except Maciek. Maciek was working on this a lot. So everyone was pulling in different directions. And the result is this monster. We have a monster that is studio right now that doesn't make a lot of sense. We probably could have spent a lot of more time implementing other features that will be more useful for the users instead of spending time in a super cool editor in the browser that is already, I mean, nobody's gonna code in the browser. Why will you do that? You already have VS Code or your IntelliJ IDEA or your whatever editor that you like, right? Why are you trying to make Studio become Visual Studio Code? No, it doesn't make sense. So we don't have to replicate the work they did, right? This is just an example, right? So yeah. So my point is that instead, this amount of time that we spent working on Studio together could have been spent in a better way, right? In a more productive way that people will see value immediately. But the problem is that nobody was taking care of this. And that's what we're trying to do now. Like, we're trying to set a direction and make sure that we go in a direction that we can build together. So we all can contribute to that vision, to that direction, to that roadmap for the next 6 weeks, for the next 6 weeks, for the next 6 weeks. We all be there and discuss and say, this makes sense. I think it's worth investing the time in this or not. You see what I'm going, right? So it's not just coding, it's also product vision as well, a little bit like trying to get together and make something valuable. So we all feel better as well. And we're not gonna be so constrained by time as ShapeUp theoretically does, because we cannot do it. But yeah, we will try to do it. No hard feelings if you don't make it in 6 weeks. That's my point.
At least we will improve the awareness of time, because I mean, what I like in this approach is when you have this awareness, you think of time as a valuable thing, and it's like in a, let's say you have a product and you need money to fund it, right? So we have time. So the question is how we use that time in a better way, and then all the questions of what should we do what is the next thing to build will make sense, right? So we'll have all an agreement of this, right?
It forces us to ask these questions to ourselves. You know, like every 6 weeks at the very least, we're gonna be asking ourselves this question: what's next? What's the most important thing, and why? Not just because I like it. Why? Right? Yeah. So it will force us to answer these questions. That's the thing. Ask and answer.
Okay, so I will then go and explain the next concept, which is the scope. So we've talked about pitch. Okay, so pitch, as I said, it's a document describing an idea, having a clear definition of a solution, and then having the risks. So this pitch will turn into a bet that is in a cycle with an owner. And then in this bet, you define a list of scopes. And for us, it's everything, as Fran said, these are issues, right? And as you know, like in theory, within, let's say, a project, or even before defining projects, as engineers, we used to define a list of stories and tasks, right? But this is not the reality. When you start working on the project, you discover like something is not working properly. Or now that, just as an example, we wanted to integrate the design system into Studio. So like to have a monorepo, right? And then we discovered that the release process needs to be adapted for that, right? So this is an example. We cannot know this upfront, right? So until you start doing the work, and then the scope is exactly that. So before having a bet, so you have an idea that is a kind of a draft, of what will be the scope. So it's a list of tasks, issues. And then when you start in the cycle, you can add more in that scope, and because you are discovering this, right? And this is an example, as I showed you, this is a bed. So we have the scope. These are just a list of tasks. We'll automate that later on. So you'll not need to maintain this by hand. So we'll have some, we'll see. So we can reference, you can just create an issue and then you reference the bed and it will automatically be added in the list of scope. So the thing is, so there is this concept also when you define the scope, and a project manager or anyone, like even customers or users will ask you about the progress. So everyone is asking about like, oh, give me the status and of this project, and this is actually a bad question. I don't like it. I don't even like to ask this question. I like to see a system that gives this answer without even asking, right? So in ShapeUp, to see the progress, so the work is considered as a hill, okay? So when you start the work in a bed or in a scope, you are figuring things out, right? And then once you approach the end of the cycle, the scope is clarified and you have figured things out, then you are making things, let's say, you are delivering things, right? So this is, I think it's better just I show you a demo. So this is something that was developed by Fran in his spare time. So we can link it with the GitHub issues, and you can see that, for example, here I have I use it personally. So I have a bed with some scopes, and you can see that the scopes are progressing in the hill chart. Okay, so for example, what I'm currently doing here today is I'm figuring out how ShapeUp can work for this project, right? So then what I do basically is in this let's say issue, I'm communicating my progress with a comment for now. So it's just, this is the system that Fran built, and we can see it here in the hill chart. So every user that is interested on the bed, on the project, he can go and see the hill chart. And later on, we can even have, like you can even move the circle once you want to communicate the progress. So you don't need someone like asking every time, oh, how things are going, and there is no meeting, there is no stand-up meetings, and so everything is autonomous.
I would also love to clarify that each dot is a GitHub issue. Okay, so
yes,
so yeah, just to make it clear, so it's the progress that you're making in the specific issue, right? So yeah, so well, yeah, continue. Yeah, sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, that's important. Yeah, that's a valid point. So every dot here is definitely a GitHub issue. And this is within the scope, right? So this is what we defined in the scope. We are not defining on purpose. We are not define the size of a scope. Okay, so the scope, it can be small, it can be big. It's up to you. Okay, and some scopes might be complex. But the most important thing is you have to communicate the progress. Why? Because when you are figuring things out, you might have like a blocker, and someone can see it, for instance, and help like unblocking blocking the scope and moving it forward, and that's quite important. And it also encourages contribution. So it doesn't mean that you have only you will be the only one working on the scope. So you might be also blocked by someone, and just trying to honor the bet, but that's fine if we don't honor it, and we don't complete, of course, the what we committed on in terms of scope. But that's what I want to say is that's a system that is used. The hill chart is used to show the progress. I don't know if you have some question regarding that.
And it's fine to go to the right side of the hill chart, like you're just getting things done. And once you're getting things done, it's like, oh shit, I didn't thought about this. Now I have to figure this out. And then you get back. It's like, I thought I was that advanced, that close to finish. But no, I found something else that I didn't think about. So I'm just gonna communicate that, oh, this is, look, this is gonna get in, or I got some unexpected stuff, right? So, and that hill chart from start to finish is not 6 weeks, okay? So this is not the length of the cycle. This is, finish is whenever you finish the task. It can be hours, it could be 2 weeks, it could be 6 weeks, whatever, right? So it's from start to finish. So yeah, and you probably noticed already in your experience, like work is not linear, right? You start trying to figure things out, then you start doing some things, but as you do, you then notice or think about something that you didn't think about, and it's like, oh shit, I have to get back and figure this out now. Or I probably have to delete all the code that I wrote and start again from scratch because whatever, or I have to refactor what I did or whatever. That's fine. That's completely fine in this system. It's okay. Just want to mention that it's okay if you want to communicate the progress, but it's also okay if you don't want to. One thing that will be automated is if you merge a pull request that is closing one of the issues, then that dot will be immediately moved to the end, to the 100%, the finish, right? So without you doing anything, the moment you close an issue because you finish it, it's done. It's moved automatically, so you don't have to command any special command or anything. But if you feel that you're working on something that it's taking longer than expected or something like that, we don't force you, but we encourage you to use that syntax like /progress, blah, 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 as a way to communicate the rest of the people, right? Not the rest of the people working on Studio or contributing to Studio, the rest of the people in the community that might be looking at our progress because they might be waiting for a feature they need. Right, so it's a matter of communicating, right? So, but yeah, like we should be flexible here. If you don't want to communicate, don't worry. We can always ask you privately, like, hey, we need help with this. But yeah, the cool thing about communicating progress is that you avoid this kind of conversations, right? Like, because nobody likes to be asked. Hey, what's your progress? What's the status of this? While you're probably approaching the end of the cycle, and you're stressed because you have something else. You have exams, you have another job, you have another things to do in your job, maybe another issues, whatever. So you're probably stressed because you want to finish this before the 6-week cycle finished. But then Samir or myself comes to you and say, hey, what's the progress of this? This is not moving, right? Nobody likes this. I don't like to ask it. No manager likes to ask this question, I will say. And nobody likes to be asked this question because it's putting more pressure into you, right? So, and we don't like that. That's why we give you a system in case you want to communicate it, you have it there, right? Otherwise, feel free, right, to ignore it if you want. So yeah, let's try to make it enjoyable. That's my point as well.
Good. So what's next? So let's try it. And the idea that I have is like we want to use ShapeUp without even knowing about it. So that's my goal. So to make it really simple and without introducing any overhead for you, like what you are already doing in your daily job and contributing to the issues. So the goal that I have is to see, like, to work on the automation part, to leverage that, linking the issues to beds, so just for us to have visibility and also to see what we have in the hill chart. If you want, of course, to communicate the progress, and even afterward, like having, I don't know, like some gamification around that, and figuring out how the progress is based on the pull requests or commits. I'm quite excited about this. I would also to get any feedback, so we'll try it, and if things are not working, so don't hesitate as well, like, to give your feedback.
I was actually thinking now that we had a conversation, Samir and I, like the other day, like how can we make this process more enjoyable? One of the things is definitely, like, you should not be aware, not aware. You should not be worrying about it. Like, this will be something that happens automatically behind the scenes, and that dashboard will be updated all the time. You only have to focus on whatever you like, which is probably writing code. So yeah, that's the thing. The only thing you will probably have to do is closing the issues. That's the only thing we ask, right? If you finish, I mean, it's as easy as in the pull request you put fix or closes or whatever, and the link to the issue, and GitHub will close it for you. But yeah, if not, you can go manually and close it. So that's the only thing. But that's, I would say, it's basic, right? It's like if you work on something and you finish it, close the issue, right? And communicate it, of course. So we were speaking about it, how to make it more enjoyable. One of the things is that it completely disappears for you, so you don't see it. It's not an overhead for you. But the other side is we can probably gamify it a little bit, and we'll discuss that. But I was thinking that we can probably have something like, I don't know, gifts, like things like, for instance, what's the name?
Like credit for conferences or something?
Yeah, like that's another one. But for instance, swag packs.
Swags, yeah.
Whenever, like, for instance, you finish, I don't know, 4 bets, then you get a swag pack, right? But if we continue working on the project, then you're gonna accumulate a lot of swag packs, right? So that's not cool, because you're gonna end up with a lot of bad swag packs, and that's not probably desirable. So yeah, another thing that we thought is that you get like a check for to spend on travel, on conference travel and accommodation. So you want to attend to a conference in another country, something like that. You have to fly and pay the hotel and so on. Because you've been contributing X amount of scopes or bets or whatever. And in Studio, you get, after this X amount, you get like a bonus, right? A check that you can take from Open Collective, from SMKPI Open Collective, and that will pay part of your trip, or maybe the whole trip, depending on the money it costs, of course. So yeah, we'll see. Open to any suggestions there, of course. You can accumulate them, and then one day you say, I want to go to the other part of the world, the other side of the world, and I have enough money here, so so SMKPI, please give it to me. Give that to me, because it's my money now. Or, well, maybe we should not accumulate it, because then we lose track of how much money we could someone potentially ask us at some point. So we give it to you, and then you save it. You save it for the conference. Yeah, because for the financing of the project, this can be really hard to track. Like you end up with $20,000 in bonuses, and one day you come and you drain the whole money on Open Collective with your price. So yeah, that's hard. That's hard to manage. So yeah. So yeah, overall, I think one thing that I want to transmit, to communicate with this is not what. So what we've seen about Studio, CLI, and Glee as well, but what we've seen with Studio so far has nothing to do with what we want to do. So forget about the current Studio. This is just one screen of the future Studio, and we want to build something that goes way beyond of what many open source projects do, right? Most open source projects don't build this kind of products because it's going to be a product, even though there are no people paying for that. It's going to be free, right? It's going to be just available for everyone. It's still a product. So that's going to be a real product that companies are going to be using for sure. So, and that will allow us to get more feedback on how people use Async API as well. So with this, we will be able to fit the specification as well. So the specification can evolve in a better way, as we'll probably collect some kind of metrics, anonymized metrics, of course, so that we know how people are using Async API, which version, if people are moving to Async API 3 or not, what are people doing with the spec? Are they generating code? Are they generating docs? Are they what they're doing, right? So we're gonna learn from this for sure. This my prediction is that Studio is gonna be the ship, the flagship of Async API in less than a year. It's gonna be the flagship, definitely. So yeah, that's why we are taking so much effort into planning how to make it really successful, because this can really be not the future of Async API, but a big part of the future of Async.
It's a big bet.
It's a big bet. Now we want to bet. So yeah. So we have.
You have some questions.
Deva Brata asking for the name of the book. I'm gonna send the link in the chat. I think it's easier.
Yeah.
It's Shape Up. It's on Shape Up book. It's online. It's you can read it online for free. You don't have to. That's it. You don't have to. It might be. I mean, it's interesting for me. Some people find it interesting. If you like management, product management, and so on, it's an interesting thing. But if you're purely focused on coding, it's gonna be boring to read. So yeah.
I have a question about the methodology, the Shape Up methodology. Are there any kind of meetings or rituals like that we are going to follow, like in other methodologies, or is just completely different? Just we are going to do meetings adapting to our needs, and that's it. Not following like something really strict, like in some agile methodologies,
So normally the methodology, like in Shape Up, they are encouraging the no meeting policy. The only meeting that they have is this bit table, where they discuss the next say bets. Okay. But it's up to us. So I mean, if we see that there is a value for having kind of any meeting, then let's do it. But the thing is, the way the methodology work is, it's encouraging the asynchronous communication that we already do, like in different issues. And one thing that is quite important is the shaping, let's say, phase. So for now, we do it with Fran, but the idea, like in the future, the engineers that are building also, like contributing to the issues, they can also participate in the process and shaping let's say the bets or the even writing pitches. So, but yeah, there is no rule regarding the meeting. So
yeah,
I don't know, Fran, if you want to add something.
Even the betting table is, when we decide what becomes a bet and what doesn't for the next cycle, doesn't really have to be a meeting either. It can be on a GitHub discussion or GitHub issue or whatever, or on Slack. We can leave comments. We can start a thread on Slack maybe, and discuss there, and or maybe on each of the. Well, I think it's going to be better on Slack or something like that, for a GitHub discussion. So we decide what goes into the next cycle like this, and so we also respect people's time, right? So right now we're all I will say in India and Europe, right? But tomorrow we get someone from the US maybe, or from somewhere in America, and we'll be more time constrained than ever, right? And then if you get someone from New Zealand as well, then in fact, you cannot decide on a time that will suit everyone, right, for a meeting. So also people have their own stuff, like maybe it will be during my working hours, but maybe I have to go to the kindergarten to pick my daughter, or I have to whatever. So I have to not just the time zone, but also that during my time zone I do other stuff, not just working, right? So yeah, and everyone, right? So yeah, so the more we can do without meetings, the better. I agree, for instance, that we should probably keep some meetings from time to time, if possible, where attendance is not mandatory for sure, and where we don't take any decisions, as always. But I think it's cool that we can see each other's faces from time to time. It's also good. So, and yeah, and obviously if we manage to get enough money, we can meet somewhere in the world in person, right? Of course, that would be super cool. So we're trying to do this with I think API conference on tour, right? So that's what we're trying to do. We're going to Bangalore and London, by the way, which is cool so far. So yeah, we're going to India and Europe so far, which is in Madrid as well. So that's cool. So that's an opportunity. And yeah.
I mean, we can also have a system of votes. Like the bid table can be just another issue listing all the bets and then having like a vote. Like we can vote for the next one, and that's it.
Yeah.
So you can lobby. You can then lobby for your own pitch. So the day you will write the pitches, then you can have some.
That's how it works. You want something on studio, pitch it,
Exactly.
and convince people. Convince people why you want it, why it will be there, right? So yeah, and maybe, I mean, since we are trying something new that I don't think it has been done in open source before, which is this applying this Kindle like shape up to open source project. Maybe we should have a retrospective or something like that. Where people, I don't know if it should be a meeting either. Maybe it can be just written, but yeah, I understand that not everyone is good at writing and expressing their feelings or emotions. So maybe both can be written meeting, so that you give feedback like this is not working, like this is a shit. We need to change this. We need to get rid of this part or this other part, and I think we could do it this way. It's a living thing. It's a living thing. So we're just putting the basement here. From here, we all build together, and I'm not more than you or than anyone else. So forget about the roles here. I know that for some of you, I am your boss and Samir is your boss, let's say manager, and so on. But for Ashish, for instance, I'm not his boss. So we're all flat here. There are no bosses here. Let's try to build it together, right? And your voice and your vote counts the same as mine. So that's it, or it's sold, right? So that's my point.
Good. Is there any other questions? The first cycle will start the next week. But it's an experiment, really. So we are experimenting this, so I'm quite excited.
It's going to be a mess. I can predict.
Yeah.
For many reasons, because it's the first time, but also because we're moving to a monorepo.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed that everything will work correctly. I don't think everything is going to work correctly. I mean, I will be super surprised that we managed to migrate everything to a monorepo, like correctly, and everything works. And we got releases, and we got all the GitHub Actions working correctly. That will be super.
Let's just merge it and let's see what issues comes up. I am sure
Exactly.
something will break. Like with GitHub Action, there is always something breaks.
Exactly, that's my point. So it's gonna be a mess because we got a lot of automation already in place for for the existing studio that are gonna disappear. Like for instance, releasing, right? I mean, not disappear, but they're gonna be a little bit like this might not work as we expect. So yeah, let's find out. Let's merge it. I plan to merge it this morning, and yeah, let's find out. Let's see if it works. If it doesn't, it's gonna be part of the bed of the cycle to fix it. So the first cycle is gonna be mostly let's try to make this work and have the thing stable. And then so that we can build on top of that in the next cycle, right? And so on, or maybe in this cycle as well. It's 6 weeks. We might have time to build something. So yeah, that's the thing. But yeah, it's gonna be fun. Let's see how things break. Luckily, nobody's paying for this, so nobody can complain.
Good. So no more questions? We're good? Okay. So have a nice day then. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.